try that again. Hello, folks. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time it is, wherever you are.
Good morrow.
Good morrow, good folks. Welcome once again to Anime Octane, nerd caliber show in which we talk about a particular anime product, movie, or series that is recent to entertainment, and we look at it in depth, talk about what's good about it, what's bad about it, what we liked, what we didn't like, and so on. Themes, messages, bigger topics like that. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter as a cosplay photographer. Second con from since the beginning of the pandemic, just this last weekend. Granite State Comic Con in Manchester, New Hampshire. That's
Nailed
two.
it.
And Burley underscore adopter on Twitter and a couple of other places, tech journalist and some other things. Joining me tonight, Byron, if you would, introduce yourself.
Hi guys, Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0 on multiple facets of the internet. Contributing writer for Nerd Caliber, social media consultant, content creator, bunch of other stuff, whatever I feel like doing. And if you like fan art, especially whether it's hand drawn or digital, you should check out my Instagram, which is BD0Art. That's BDZEROART.
And just to be clear, not everything you want to be doing. Sometimes you got to get it by me. So
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So our topic tonight, folks, and I'll say hi to people in the chat in a second. Our topic tonight, folks, is the recent anime or recent to Netflix USA. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Eden's Zero. Created by based on the manga created by the same mangaka who created Fairy Tail, the insanely popular Fairy Tail.
And the lesser known Groove Adventure Rave.
Hmm?
And the lesser known Groove Adventure Rave.
Yes.
Or Rave Masters, as Rave Masters is known in the States.
Yes, and definitely lesser known. When you've got something as massive as Fairy Tail, everything is lesser known. With your work. Anyway,
Yes.
so we will be spoiling it. That's just the nature of when we talk about things that work and don't. That's the way it goes. So, folks, if you have not seen Eden's Zero, we'll be spoiling what we can see of it, and we'll get into that. If you have not seen Eden Zero and you're interested in doing so, and you don't want spoilers, then thanks for stopping by. But you probably want to watch something else.
I want Zero.
Exactly. If you don't mind spoilers, or you're not interested in watching it, but you want to watch the show, then hang around. Give your comments, your opinions in the chat. We love to hear them. Let's see. Some people that's been in the chat for a while. I'm not sure if you're still in there, but Andres, hello. Hebert, hello. Actually, I guess that's both of you there. And let's see. I don't think we've got anybody in any of the other chats yet. No, not yet. All right. So, we start with the explanation. What is Eden's Zero? Eden Zero is an anime series that's currently airing, or has aired, because it's on Netflix, so the entire block is on Netflix. It is based on a manga by
Hiro Mashima.
Yeah, or Mashima Hiro, depending on how you want to do it. Again, as we said, the creator of Fairy Tail. So Fairy Tail is an enormous intellectual property. The anime alone has run to more than 300 episodes before it closed out in September. Well, about 2 years ago, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, September 2019. It spawned video game adaptations. It's gigantic, and it spawned tons and tons of cosplay.
Which I've done a little bit of myself, actually.
Oh, there you go. Natsu?
No, Gajeel, actually.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So this is Fairy Tail is a fantasy world with dragons and and so on. This is science fiction, space fantasy is a better way to describe it.
Yes.
But it definitely has science fiction trappings. There are spaceships. They go to different planets. There are robots, androids, cyborgs, things like that. but it also is very much in the the Star Wars world of space wizards for 12-year-olds.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
you may be a little older than 12-year-olds, and we'll also get into that too.
Mentally, not so
Yeah.
much.
So, Sabri, welcome to the show. And yes, it is 2021. Did I make a mistake in typing anything? Nope. All right, cool. Um, so the story is instead of Natsu from Fairy Tail, if you're familiar with that, the main character who is pictured, let's see, what's the best shot we have of him right here? Shiki is a young man who was raised on a planet with just robots. So he has, as the show starts, never seen another human being. He knows all about them in theory, but's never seen another human being in his life. Now, the robots that raised him are pretty human as far as emotions and so on. These are, again, Star Wars-esque droids. They really have feelings and, heart, as he puts it. He finds this, the first human that he sees is
Rebecca.
It's Rebecca, but I'm trying to find okay. I guess we'll use this shot. Is Rebecca? She is a B-cuber. That is the term that they use for people who upload videos to a social shared platform. Basically, a YouTuber. And she lands on this planet along with her cat, Happy, which is literally the cat from Fairy Tail.
Yes. Wait, I want to point something out about that. That's a thing that Mashima does with a lot of his work. He'll overlap designs, he'll overlap characters into like subsequent works. He did the same thing with the character of Plu from Rave into Fairy Tail and also into Eden Zero.
Okay. So Rebecca, this YouTuber who lands on the planet, once she is there, for some reason the robots turn on her and Shiki. And at one point they tie her up like this and are attempting to burn her at the stake. And so as Byron pointed out, the idea of reuse of design, this is pretty much Lucy. As far as a physical design goes, really close anyway. And now Shiki doesn't really look anything like Natsu, so that's a good change. But ultimately, it turns out they have to flee the planet, and it was kind of all just a plot to get him off the planet because they knew that he wouldn't leave them while they were, the robots were in need. He was sort of his role was their fixer, even though he actually never really knew how to do it. Because this used to be basically like a Disney World planet. It was a tourist planet. So they wind up leaving, and ultimately the big adventure that they're going on is there is this space goddess, I guess, called Mother, and their adventure is they are going to go find Mother. Because nobody, in theory, nobody has ever actually seen or visited this goddess. And that's basically the structure of the show. And there's a lot of other stuff obviously going on around it. Netflix, for whatever reason, has 12 of the total package of episodes for this particular run. So there are, depending on whether you trust My Anime List or Wikipedia, 23 or 25 episodes.
They've done the same thing with Shaman King, actually.
Yeah, I don't know why, if they already exist out there in the world, you would split it up into two cores when it's not that way in Japan. But anyway. So this is the first half. And there is it's a logical breaking point for starting a second half of the story.
Absolutely.
And that's basically the gist of it. So we are going to start getting into things that we liked about it. Byron, what did you like about this? What worked for you? What did they shoot for and you thought they really hit?
One thing that I really like is the magic system of the ether gears.
Yeah. And again, supposedly this is science fiction, but yeah, the stuff that these people, their powers, essentially it's magic.
yeah, it's a battle shonen, so it's all, and that's like one of the big things with battle shonen is it usually has some sort of hard magic system, and ether gears are pretty cool in the sense that like it's not just relegated to like a certain to a certain type of person. Like you can obtain ether gear,
Mhm.
as is shown by Rebecca, who she's slowly starting to awaken into hers.
Right. Well, but I don't know that you can necessarily attain it, as in like it somehow gets into you. It may be something you're born with, or I guess maybe you can train it. So this is Shiki when his gear, which controls gravity, is active, and that's typical of the design. Something happens. Some designs happen on their arms, their hands, or some
The
combination of
face.
that, and they get surrounded by an aura. His is green for whatever reason, because of his gravity control. But that's what it looks like when someone activates that ether gear. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, the ether gear is very interesting and love. I'm looking forward to finding out more about it. Um, the characters like the character designs are pretty good. Like it's a lot. They seem a lot more tasteful than they were in Fairy Tale as far as like outfits and whatnot. Where like one thing about Fairy Tale that really drove me crazy with the female designs was like there was excessive amount of underboob. Like
Okay.
yes, like okay, we get it. They're supposed to be hot.
So if that's if that's your category for tasteful, it avoids that one specific piece of fan service,
Well, the bar is
and
pretty low.
almost none else.
The bar is pretty low for was set pretty low for Fairy Tale as
That's
far as
true.
I'm concerned. Um, I like Shiki. I like the fact that they're veering away from like the power of friendship so much. Like
Yep.
it is a thing, but it's not like the final power up
Right.
in each
And
like
I'll give you, there's an episode, they do a really good job with it. Now Shiki, obviously he wants to make all the friends he can because he's never had human friends until this starts.
yes.
And so he's really into friends, but unlike the power of friendship sort of thing, which is typical throughout a lot of anime and fairy tale in particular, um, when Shiki gets really concerned about Rebecca near the last couple of episodes where she gets kidnapped, um, when he finally gets to somebody that's actually directly involved in this, he almost kills them. I mean, he just beats them to a pulp,
Yeah.
to the point where anybody, Rebecca, Pino, who we'll talk about later, tries to stop him, and he just doesn't even hear it. So they have to essentially shut him down. There's a way they can do that, and
Yes.
so it's interesting that it talks about friendship, and friendship is very important, but it also doesn't just make it the power of friendship. It's like, yeah, sometimes you can take that a little too far, and he did in that episode.
Yes. And that was another thing that was the thing that I appreciate about one of Rebecca's rival, where she's like excessively cruel, and that was like the first person that we meet that she's just like, no, I don't like you. These, so it's showing that like it. A lot of what I like about the series comes from like Mashima's growth as a writer. I
Yeah.
guess I can, yeah. Like one thing that I really harped on Fairy Tale was that I would often say that like Mashima's never heard of Chekhov's gun.
I would say even worse. I think Massimo has seen Chekhov's gun and thrown it in the river every story arc, but I'll get into that.
Yes, yeah, that might be a better way to put it. And like some of the early arcs here have felt pretty complete, and
Yes.
especially with the ending of like these first 12 episodes, like it looks like it's going somewhere, and the little teaser for like the next forthcoming arc about the first big bad. I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yep. Yeah, it's great because up to this point, it's like, yeah, all of these are fun, but you never get the impression any of these are going to prevent or provide a challenge to Shiki. As bad people or aliens, as bad creatures as a lot of these, bad guys are. Yeah, that is a really nice thing about this, story arc, or this, implied story arc that's going to happen, going forward. I agree with you 100% on that.
Uh, I think I'm gonna leave it at that because, like I said before, it all comes like from Hiro Mashima's growth as a writer.
Yep. All right, so things I liked, as I've said, I agreed with a bunch of these things. I do like the characters. Particularly, I like Shiki because he is not Natsu. Um, Natsu's a moron,
Yes,
and just 100% a moron. I mean, he's a
very
nice guy. He
loud.
loves his friends. He's got redeemable qualities, but he's an idiot. And Mashima's writing, as you brought it up, I stopped watching Fairy Tail after I think episode 45 because they would have an arc. They would solve the arc by having Natsu learn a new ability or aspect to his power, set up a problem in the next arc in which he completely forgets that he has that ability. And I mean, it's literally a problem. It's like, oh, this should be a piece of cake because he learned how to do X just like 2 episodes ago. And no. Now, realistically, that's not a character flaw. That's a writing flaw. The writer just doesn't bother carrying over growth.
Or in other, like in later arcs in fairy tales, like he sets up this big thing like, oh, it's going to change everything, and it's like, nope,
Right.
no, it didn't count. It
Right,
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
you can't tease something like that and just go, oh, no, that really didn't change anything. Like
Chug, Testa.
really important characters supposedly die. I'm like, yeah, guess what? Yeah, that didn't really change anything.
Testa.
So Shiki is he's an innocent. He's a babe in the woods. He's clearly totally naive. But there's a reason for that. We never know exactly why Natsu's a moron. He's just a moron. Shiki was raised by robots. He'd never seen a human being until Rebecca landed on the planet. So everything off this planet is completely new to him, aside from robots. And that's great. It gets the ability to portray him, which otherwise might be done by making him a moron, having all of this, wonderful reaction to things that are pretty commonplace, even, in this future, or in this, space world. And that's neat. That's a great character trait for him. When you called it a battle shonen, yes, but it's also, I think, even more predominantly, it's a comedy. And it's funny. Unlike Fairy Tail, which occasionally is funny because, it hits or misses. Often it misses. Ariana, welcome to the show. I don't believe it's 2023. I think it's still 2021. But,
What is time?
what is time? Exactly. It's wibbly wobbly stuff. Yeah, all of that. So, yeah. So I like Shiki. I like his character. I think it's really good. I like Rebecca. I think she's a little more practically tough than Lucy is from Fairy Tail.
Yes.
Lucy has access to some crazy abilities, whereas Rebecca's are much more limited. She is a crack shot mainly because of playing video games, apparently. And Happy, the cat in this, version, as it turns out, is now a robot, an android, I guess, with Happy's neural patterns or whatever inside. So it's just like
Yes.
Happy, but Happy can turn into a pair of guns, which is kind of interesting.
It's
So
really cool.
yeah, it's very cool, and she's really good at that, at shooting. She's also has, as Byron mentioned, she's starting to develop an ether power, an ether gear, which apparently is like a Silver Surfer, fist blast ray that knocks a hole clean through the spaceship she's in when she first tries to use it. So the implication is that as it's going forward, this is going to be very, very important. But she's apparently also very reticent to try to use it, because in the episodes where she was kidnapped and rescued, she never once thinks to, use this to get out.
That was another thing I really liked. I liked about the fact that she wasn't just a damsel in distress.
She wasn't for the most part. In that last arc, she kind of is. Well, actually, no, that's not true. She helped save everybody.
Yes.
So, and let's see, other things I like. So again, the characters and a lot of the other characters. Professor Weiss or Weiss,
Weiss.
is a really interesting character because he's not really a nice guy. I mean, maybe he is the rogue with a heart of gold kind of guy, except that heart of gold you can maybe just barely see. Just the comedy in Homura. So they introduce a character, Homura, whose ether is being able to manifest these energy blades called the Soul Blades. If her personality quirk is that she says whatever pops into her head, and it's hilarious because some of the things are so inappropriate, not like dirty inappropriate, just things that you wouldn't want to say at that time.
No filter.
No filter whatsoever. Yes, she is a character. If you know anybody with no filter, that's Homura. So yeah, really good characters. I like the way the story builds on itself, unlike almost anything in Fairy Tail. And again, maybe in episodes 300 to 392 or something, it started getting that way because he became a better writer. I don't know that. I stopped at episode 45 because it was too stupid. This is, worlds apart.
Absolutely.
I would even say this is the show that Space Dandy should have been.
That's a bold statement.
So I didn't like Space Dandy. I think it was never funny, almost never funny. It only worked in those episodes where Watanabe-san directed it himself, and those were serious episodes. Laika the Space Dog, the girl on the train. That was 100%. You could see Spike Spiegel doing most of that stuff. Other than that, it just, the ship and the crew that's doing this traveling. By the way, I got to give them credit for, the name is Eden's Zero with no apostrophe. And I thought, okay, it's it's a Japanglish thing. It's a bad translation. I don't know what. Episode 7, you find out why, and it makes sense.
Yes.
It's part of the name of a ship. And in fact, actually, Eden Zero is the entire name of the ship. But Eden's is an acronym. And I'm like, wow, okay. And they don't. It's never, a thing. It's not hinted at or anything like that. They just suddenly, it's like, oh yeah, and it's like, oh okay, that's why it's like that.
That was really clever.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really clever in here. I'll give them that. One of the other things I really like are the deep references to other pop culture stuff. The planet that they have to go to, Gilst, where Rebecca has been kidnapped to, is called at least twice a den of scum and villainy. Or a hive of scum and villainy. I'm like, okay, nice Star Wars deep cut there. But when there's a character that's a pirate that is not Urza Scarlet, she's Elsie Crimson. Yeah, right.
Well, like I said, Mashima does that.
He does, and in this case, it's actually kind of funny. But who is a pirate leader of a pirate fleet, and they introduce characters who will apparently become even more important later on, from an interstellar something union, the like the cops of this, with names like Justice and Victory and so on,
Yes.
and they have been tracking this pirate, and trying to bring her to heel. When you first see the Interstellar Union's fleet, it's like, somebody watched Galactic Heroes, Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Yes.
And then you see the opposite side, the Pirates fleet, which don't look exactly like her flagship. And it's like, okay, all right. This is a wonderful reference to the wicked old anime Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And I'm sure
I was gonna say that Elsie's fleet, and just like her entire aesthetic was a callback to the Galaxy Express 39 universe.
Yep. And you could any of the space pirates, Captain Harlock or any, it's
Yes.
all of it is kind of a callback to that. But those, particularly that Interstellar Union fleet, it's like, okay, I get it. That's the Empire's fleet from Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I'm not exactly, but boy, the design is enough that you go. And I bet if I knew even more, like old school anime stuff, there'd be deeper references here that I missed. But just those few, it's like, all right, that's cool. That's neat writing. I like it. What was it? Oh, I was going to make my argument about Space Dandy. So the other thing is the crew. So Space Dandy's crew, everybody's an idiot, including Space Dandy.
Yeah.
Here, nobody's an idiot. Shiki is very naive. Vice is,
A douche nozzle.
a douche nozzle. A nice douche nozzle at times, but a douche nozzle. Homura is just, like I said, no filter, which can sometimes make her seem ditzy, but that's not the case. Nobody is the kind of idiot that is the only people in almost every episode of Space Dandy. So again, that's why I really wanted to like Space Dandy because of the people involved. I didn't because of those reasons, and this is a similar picaresque kind of let's go on adventures from planet to planet story that does what Space Dandy should have done, and has even more fan service. So this is a boy do I like it, and also maybe a little too much. So I'll go
Fair
with
enough.
a boy do I like it. I mean, it's excellent fan service. There's an entire episode. It's literally called "The Great Naked Escape," in which a whole bunch of dozens of girls who have been kidnapped and turned to stone by the bad guy in this final arc, all have to escape. But well, the ones actually who haven't been turned to stone. Yeah. Anyway, he kidnaps a bunch of beekeepers, 30 of them, 29 actually. They missed one. Then to prep them to be turned to stone, they're all in a chamber, and this foam comes in and eats all their clothes, so they're naked with foam in the appropriate places. So, it's a PG-13 equivalent. But yeah, so these are some of the they do it when they escape. They find a room that has all these costumes because apparently he was also into cosplay or something. That's really cool. The character designs are really sexy. Where is she? Oh yeah, here again where they're about to try to burn her at the stake. Almost every female character in this show, yes, their thighs would in fact save lives. If
No argument there.
If you're a thigh fan, well, if you're a breast fan, whatever, certainly. But if you're also a thigh fan, yeah. So I like.
Do you think my man from Jujutsu Kaisen would be into the show?
Yes. Yes,
Absolutely.
although I'm not sure none of them are described as being particularly tall. And his statement is specifically, "I like tall women with big butts." He doesn't say butts, um, but yeah. So it's you know obviously tons of fan service throughout the whole thing. Some of it's pretty edgy. There's a couple of
Mm.
scenes where an android that actually runs the ship, Eden Zero, also offers massage services. Um,
Ah, yes.
and those massages can go up to the edge of torture if that's what you want.
If that's
And
what you're into.
and some of the characters want that. So yeah, so there's just I would say even more than Fairy Tale, or at least what I remember from Fairy Tale. There's more fan service. A lot of it is played well as comedy, without being like ridiculous comedy. Some of it is clearly um, creepy,
Yeah.
but it's the characters in the show that are being creepy. Um,
Like Baron Greenback. That's
yeah,
what I'm called.
yeah,
That's
it's
what
a
I'm
good
gonna
way of
call
Baron
him.
Greenback or what's his name, the leader of the Gungans. It's kind of what he looks like.
Boss Naz.
Boss Naz, yeah, he's without the blah, 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 he's pretty Boss Naz like, even with the prehensile tongue. Um, but yeah, so I think it's great. I love the costume designs. I am very much looking forward to people cosplaying every one of the four. What do they call the four androids that are part of the ship?
Uh, the
Uh,
four, the 4 stars, I believe.
yeah, the 4 stars of Eden Zero. Um, you know, Witch, Sister, Hermit, and Valkyrie. Their character designs are fantastic, and would lend themselves so well to cosplay. But a lot of characters in here would lend themselves well to cosplay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the cosplay that comes out of this, because characters go through multiple costume changes, like their regular costume changes over the course of the series. It's not like they always look exactly the same, like Natsu or Lucy or what have you, with the exception of Lucy being often thrown into a bikini or a bunny suit or whatever, because fan service. In this case, all the characters change costumes at least a couple of times. Um, so, what else do I like in particular about it? I guess that pretty much covers it. So in that case, Byron, let's start getting into what didn't you like? What didn't work for you? What did they try to do and just miss?
There were there wasn't a lot that I disliked, but like one thing, like like the that whole kidnap arc, the entire gag about the big girl always talking about food, always talking about stuffing her face. It's like
Yep.
he's like, yeah, we heard the joke the first time. It's still not funny.
Right. I mean, I thought they were going to do something because Moskoy, one of the 4 stars' servants, um,
Yes.
when somebody complains about this beekeeper, who's a big, heavy girl, not being, what they had ordered kidnapped. Moskoy is just like, lots of cute or big cute or something like that is the way he
Yeah.
puts it. And it's like, yeah, good, all right, let's do that. And then they completely ruin it with like endless fat jokes.
Yes.
Like, okay, so I guess they didn't do that. So I agree, 100%.
Yeah, I was not a fan. I was not a fan of that. Um, on it, I'm having a hard time finding things that I really disliked about it because, again, it was such a solid experience that I anything else would just be like little nitpicks.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm pretty much with you. I started this like a couple of weeks ago, and I think I watched up to episode 5. I thought it was 4. It was 5. Um, and so then I just jumped back into it today, and from while I'm doing a lot of maintenance work on the website, so from 9:30 until shortly after noon, I'm just going, wow, okay, next episode, yeah, next episode. I mean, I just blasted right through the rest of them.
Yes.
Because I liked it so much. So dislikes, I agree, as I said, with the sort of fat jokes. While most of the comedy lands and most of it is a lot smarter and funnier than the stuff certainly than in Fairy Tale, some of it does lean too far into the ecchi stuff.
Yeah.
And again, I feel conflicted complaining about this. Anybody who knows me knows I'm never going to complain about fan service in anime for the most part. But, here...
It's about how it's applied.
It's how it's applied. And there's some hentai... not hentai. There's some tentacle stuff. Which is like, okay, well, that's an old trope and so on. I mean, they did an interesting way of introducing it, but then it just becomes, okay, it's more tentacle stuff. Mm-hmm. Although, again, Rebecca's reaction to a lot of this is, brave and funny and at times kind of sarcastic. And that's great. I like that. So it's not just, ooh, tentacles, but still. And the reliance on fan service as a method of proving or showing that your bad guy is really bad. We don't need to see, almost sexual abuse. We don't, yes, he's bad. He's hard. He kidnapped these women, and then the ones he's kidnapped before, he turns into stone, while naked. Them naked, not him, as far as I know. So yeah, he's bad. We get it. He's like the top bad guy on this planet of bad guys. So, you don't need to then, really reinforce this with him almost sexually abusing some of these women. So yeah, so I thought they stretched that just a little too far.
Yeah. I really hope he didn't get off that planet.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, you got to figure he's going to have one of the first escape pods available. That's another thing that actually I have to go back to likes with. Is that some of the crazy stuff that happens in space, the dragons, which are actually these cybernetic enormous beings that sort of guard this part of the cosmos they're in. It's called the Sakura cosmos.
Yes.
And try to keep people from leaving it, frankly, which is, I'm sure, is going to be a plot element. That's not, there just happens to be dragons out there. Based on how well he's written other things that come around, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm guessing those aren't just dragons drifting out there.
Yeah, I liken them to like natural disasters.
But I think that it's part of the story. I think they're not just natural disasters. I think they're deliberately put there by something to keep people in the Sakura cosmos or keep things out.
That would make sense.
Because they are cybernetic beings. They're not like living creatures.
True.
But when Byron referenced, I hope he didn't get off this planet, there's something in this universe called a chronophage, which is this basically space monster that runs around the cosmos eating planets. Except it doesn't eat the planet, it eats time, the time that has happened on the planet. And so it could be 50 years, as it is on one particular planet. It could be 1,200 years, as it turns out to be on this planet Gilst. But to solve the problem of time paradoxes, particularly in the shorter time, like 50, there are people who would still be alive who might have left the planet in that time, so now there's two of them. Mm-hmm. They become essentially a pocket separate reality. You can still get to it with some effort, But if once you're there, it's essentially a separate timeline. And that's pretty cool because he's just, nobody actually says it this way, but the way it's written, it's flat out states, if it wasn't this way, there'd be time paradoxes, so it has to be this way.
Yes. Which I like it. That's like my favorite use of time travel, when it just when you don't have to worry about the butterfly effect, because that's just such a messy way of depicting time travel, in my opinion.
Yep. And then to have it as something that is still accessible within the sort of normal flow of the time universe, it's like a little pocket of different time. It's like, I like that. That's really cool. And he plays with that in a very interesting way, particularly in that second planet, because it goes so far back in time. But we're on dislikes, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
So that's really it for me. I don't like Byron. I don't have a lot that I dislike about this. I am actually kind of shocked, considering how much I ultimately disliked Fairy Tail. Just how tightly written this thing is, how funny it is, how exciting the fights are. It is a battle shonen, and like every episode, Shiki fights somebody, or just about every episode.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of classic Dragon Ball, where a lot of it was humor based.
Right. Yeah, that's a great comparison. That obviously is super fantasy, although it does take place on other planets. So okay.
Well, early Dragon Ball didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. I get that. Yeah. I'll buy that. I'm still not a huge Dragon Ball fan, but certainly early Dragon Ball didn't have the Dragon Ball Z problems of 8 episodes to land one punch. And it also had, particularly in the Japanese version that ultimately did not make it to the United States initially, crazy fan service.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a valid comparison. All right, so with that said, there's not a lot we dislike about this. It's pretty solid. It's a little early since we've only got the first 12 episodes of the initial season. But do we have a consistent theme or tone or message coming out of this, Byron?
I would say what I can get from it so far, it's a family kind of deal so far. I'd have to watch the entire thing in order to get like a better idea. I mentioned last week how I want to start reading the manga because of how much I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once I get more of Eden Zero in me, I'll have a better idea of the themes. But from what I can tell, family is definitely a big theme.
Yep. Yeah, and as found family in particular.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, found family, because you have the backstory between Happy and Rebecca. You have Shiki's whole backstory. You have the little robot Pino, who you have her backstory. You have her very tragic backstory, in my opinion.
Yeah. Actually, kind of her tragic mid backstory, because at this point we don't really know her origin backstory, although it's hinted at very strongly.
Well, yeah, and like even the sense of family between the 4 stars so far.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think also one of a couple of other messages that are in here are tolerance and intolerance.
Yes.
Robots and bots of any kind get treated badly at times. There are plenty of criminals and really, really bad people that view anybody as a potential victim. So I think that's tolerance and intolerance is one thing. I think the other thing, I'm not sure if this would be considered a theme, or I guess it's a theme, because it's played for laughs mostly, but boy, does this thing understand, or I guess say Mashima understand the current YouTube zeitgeist, and
Yes.
boy, does he play with it. Sometimes it's hilarious, sometimes it's annoying, but he really gets it. And I think that's obviously it's an important part. Rebecca is a B-cuber, a YouTuber, and just that whole final arc is essentially all about a stalker. He happens to be an insanely
Yeah.
powerful and rich stalker, but he has B-cubers kidnapped. So
Wow.
yeah,
I didn't really think about that until you brought it up. Like, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's a story about the dangers of celebrity and YouTube in particular, and
Parasocial relationships, all that.
yeah, absolutely parasocial relationships. It's really, like I said, he really understands YouTube and the world that we've built around it at this point. So I guess that's pretty much there may be further themes developed. There are implications that there may be actually religious themes in this. At one point somebody just casually mentions that there's a legend that if you get to mother, you get to be born again. Literally, not reborn. They use the phrase "born again." It's like, okay, it'd be interesting to see whether or not they are in fact playing with Christian born again themes. But Byron, recommend it? Yes or no?
Highly
and
recommend.
Rating, scale 1 to 10.
I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yep, I would agree. I would recommend this, particularly for anybody who's mature enough to deal with the occasional implications of like sexual abuse and the ton of fan service. But yeah, if that's your game or you're mature enough to deal with that sort of thing, then it's funny, it's smart, it's well written, it's tightly crafted. Definitely a strong recommend. And I think that's exactly what I rated it in my anime list. It's an 8 out of 10. It's good, folks. Go watch it. And watch it. I guess you can wait until Netflix decides to drop the other 13 or 11 episodes, again, depending on who you trust.
Well, yeah, episode 23 just aired in Japan, so...
Yeah. Then maybe that's why Wikipedia has it as 23 episodes and that it's 23 currently, and my anime list says there will be 25. So that's probably what it is. But anyway, don't wait, go watch it. It's fun. And it's an easy watch. Particularly on Netflix, that skip intro, skip recap button...
The godsend.
Yes, thank you. That takes a 23-minute episode or 23.5-minute episode down to 20 or less, like 19 minutes of actually watchable, enjoyable show, just by going click click. So yeah, go watch it, folks. Upcoming tomorrow night is Nerd Week Live. It's probably going to be a pretty short show. It's amazing that there hasn't been a ton of news that's dropped, but what there has, some pretty interesting stuff. But Nerd Week Live tomorrow, where we talk about nerd news that happened since the last show, last Tuesday. Upcoming this Thursday, our full fat spoiler chat is going to be on Tenet. The movie that came out last September at the height of the pandemic and was supposedly the thing that was going to bring theaters back. So we'll be talking about that. And then... we're probably going to change up No Nerd Caliber for next Monday because we might be changing up the actual full fat spoiler chat of that week. So stay tuned for that, folks. So I can't give you a teaser for that. What I can give is a teaser, a plea, however you want to put it, a request that you go check out our Patreon page. Plage? Yes.
Age.
Patreon.com/nerdcaliber. You know what? I logged into it for the first time in months, and I realized that I've been saying things slightly inaccurately. We have 3 tiers, not just 2. Although I've always said a couple. Couple is 2. Doesn't mean few. We have 3 tiers. The top one is $20, and then it goes down from there. Um, and we really would love to have you help us get to more cons. We've got a $2 tier, so think about it. For the price of a hash browns at Dunkin' Donuts or wherever, or a single McDonald's dollar menu thing a month, you can help us get to more cons. You can help us cover more stuff, which means more videos and more photos and more galleries and so on. So
More
please do consider.
content.
More
More
content.
content.
Exactly. And as it turns out, we do have some rewards, which I know the $2 level will get you your name at the end of every video. The $10 one will get you access to Patreon specific polls about upcoming content at cons, which now makes sense again because cons. And the $20 tier will actually get you access to I think it's 2 or 3 fully edited, very, very high res photos that I have taken of you at any con that I still have access to the RAWs on per month that we shoot you in a con. So first one is whenever, and then it's per month. It has to have been a con within that previous year. Anyway, there are conditions. Go read it. So yeah, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Go check it out. Check out some of our other shows that are coming up this week, and further shows later on this week. Our next con is, I think, New York Comic Con.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think we've got anything next weekend. So then that would be the weekend after that is NYCC. Galleries from Granite Con are going up. We're still posting the last few galleries from Dragon Con and from Fan Expo Boston, and we'll be having Colossal Con East galleries going up fairly soon. So, nerdcaliber.com, check them out. Byron, give us a goodbye.
Yep. All right, guys. Hey, Byron D0 yet again. I have a YouTube channel also. It's Byron D0. Haven't updated in a bit, but wheels are turning for some new content. I'll let you know when it's available.
Awesome.
See you soon.
Or you could go subscribe and then you'll get the notification, or ring the notification bell.
Yes, that's right. Because I would love to have more followers. It's Byron D0, all one word. BYRONDZERO.
Check it out, folks. All right, and also for me, Rodney Brown. That's it. We'll see you in an upcoming show. Please stay safe. And do all the safe stuff. Again, everybody that I saw at Granite Con, you were wonderful wearing the masks, and doing all the safe stuff. Granite Con actually had vaccination clinic in the facility.
That's awesome.
It was fantastic. So yeah, we'll see you.